Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to the Just Nicking It, I don't know, off-season show. We don't have a name just yet. My name is Stephanie, aka Queen, and as always, we have a lot to talk about. We'll update you on the Knicks coaching search. Apparently, there's another candidate that they are considering. We'll talk about whether or not the Knicks should stand pat and kind of make minor changes, or whether they should look to take advantage of the injuries in the Eastern Conference and make a big splash. Though I kind of think the Knicks went all in last year. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the current roster, the bench. We will give our assessment of the bench and whether or not they should be brought back, whether you're comfortable including them in a trade if you feel the roster needs to be upgraded. We'll talk about whether or not the Knicks should use the taxpayer mid-level exception, and if so, who would you like to see? And anything else that comes up. Geoff, happily ever Klafter, Daily Sports Blog, Ajay, Hollywood, the villain. That's why we're late, ladies and gentlemen. How's everybody doing?
Blame it on me. We good, Queen. We good. A little bit tired, but we're good. We good.
Yeah, I'm a little under the weather too, but
I'm never too tired. Never too tired to talk about the Knicks. So
yeah, I kind of feel like I'm energized when I come to this do the show. Yeah. All right, so let's just start with the quick update on the coaching search. So Brown and Jenkins apparently were already interviewed. It seems like the Knicks, from reports, won't make their decision until after the draft. So there won't be a coach at least named going into the draft. It's possible that they know which one of them they want to hire and have gotten their input into the type of roster they would like, and that would help them if a draft day trade came up, or help them in terms of who they would pick with the 50th pick. I don't know. There's reports that they're still pursuing Jason Kidd. Ndoka got a contract extension. Billy Donovan in Chicago got a contract extension. Jason Kidd did not. His top assistant, who was with him in Brooklyn, Milwaukee, and now Dallas, is the associate head coach, if I'm not mistaken, in San Antonio. So
that's correct.
And he has not gotten an extension. So does that mean he's possibly still in play for the Knicks? Who knows? And then James Borrego is now on their radar, at least from reports. He was last with the Charlotte Hornets. He's coming from Coach Popovich's tree. He was interviewed for the Phoenix job this year, obviously didn't get it. Interviewed for the Cleveland job last year, obviously didn't get it. 4 seasons in Charlotte. Each year, they won 10 more games than they did the prior season, but they lost 2 years in a row in the play-in tournament. I think that year they were 43-29, and he got fired, and they haven't won more than 27 games since. I got a little pet peeve with these front offices when it, Anyway. So yeah, just your thoughts on the coaching search, and if you have any thoughts on Borrego, if you're familiar with him. Apparently he's very creative offensively, which is something I would think they're looking for. That's one of the complaints, right? With Tom Thibodeau. Any thoughts at all, Geoff? If not, it's fine. Ajay?
I don't really know Borrego that well. I don't watch Charlotte unless they're playing the Knicks. But I'm not overly concerned about the coaching search. Mm-hmm. There's only one head coaching job that's open in the NBA right now, mm-hmm. and that's ours. And so there's not really, in my opinion, a need to rush the process. I mean, we have the 50th overall pick in this year's draft. That's not going to, in all likelihood, going to be a player that's going to move the needle in terms of rotation piece on this team. I guess from the standpoint that, if you did make a big trade, the coach wouldn't have input, but they're coming into a brand new situation regardless. So even if it weren't to happen like in the first week of July, I don't think it's that big a deal either, because like I said, there's no reason for the Knicks to get in a hurry. I imagine they'll get something done shortly after the draft, for the simple fact of the matter is just to have it done and get some stability and whatnot. But I don't think there's a big rush. I think that they're gonna do their due diligence, as they have been, contacting everybody they need to contact and turning over every stone, and based on the criteria that they have, and we don't even know what those are, and then they're going to find the person they feel fits those criteria the best. And this front office is very good about being poignant about getting their I's dotted and their T's crossed. That's one thing. Their process and everything that they've done, transactionally speaking, has been like that historically. So I don't expect this search to be any different.
Yeah. Well, the difference is they got to get it right, or they're out the door next. You can argue.
Is that a difference though? You got to get it right anyway. And I think Tom Thibodeau was the right man for the job the last time they had a coaching search, because he at least built the foundation and restored organizational competence and a floor line. And so they went through a similar process. They got it right the last time to that extent. And so, I agree with you. This is their last shot, but I don't think we're not going to know how the results of the hire are until, a couple years down the road anyway.
No, what I mean is they have to get it right. They have to pick a coach that's going to bring it home, or this is going to be it for them. Mm-hmm. Ajay, any thoughts on the coaching search, Borrega?
Just like Geoff, I don't know that coach that well, and also just like Geoff, I'm not overly concerned with the coaching search. If they end up with Taylor Jenkins, I'm fine with that. There's a slightly favor him over Brown. And obviously I don't know. I don't even know why Jason Kidd, they still talking about him. I don't know.
Because he hasn't signed an extension.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's not like, is he championship coach? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what does he.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I don't know what does he have that like everybody's like hot behind Jason Kidd. Like, I don't know. Like, he's a good coach, and so is Taylor Jenkins, and so is Mike Brown. So I don't know what they're looking for, but whatever.
Well, this is what I think they should be looking for. The complaints against Tom Thibodeau was lack of offensive creativity, so the coach should have that. That he played a short roster, so I would think they would look for a coach who plays 9, 10, and who's a tactician. In terms of before game and in game adjustments, right? And if that's what you're telling me that the issues were, then the coach you bring in should be that. Don't bring in a coach because Tom Thibodeau didn't talk and this coach talks. Or Tom Thibodeau didn't want to listen to the front office, and now this coach listens to the front office. Like, to me, that's not enough. That's extra. Like, if the coach does that, that's great. That's gravy. But don't just bring somebody in because you're comfortable with them and you got good vibe. No. No. There are specific tactical criteria and issues, that they had with Tom Thibodeau, and I'm hoping those will be addressed in the coaching search, right? So I'm looking for something very specific. And, to your point, Geoff, I think you brought it up on the last show, maybe they won't, maybe Jenkins has the leg up because Brown is known to, this is my way, this is how I do it. Some complaints about how he talked to, his players, like it wasn't a very corroborative practice. This is what I think. I'm the coach. This is the way it is. you know, to me, I think there's a fine line because if I'm coaching and somebody in the front office comes to me and tell me I need to change my starting lineup, like, are you what? Are you, you know, like, I just feel like, but at the same time, it's not, I'm the coach, don't say anything to me. You know, there's just a fine line. But I feel like if you don't know enough about basketball strategy as much as I do, you're not going to just come up to me and tell me that I need to change the starting lineup. Like really? Like, based on what? Not even, you know, and maybe they had this conversation, not even, this is what the stats say, you're doing something different. What is that about? I'm just trying to, I'm trying to understand. That's different. Or, you know what, given the cap situation, we're going to have to start using rookies. We're just not going to have the money, particularly on this team, which is top heavy. We're just not going to have the money to sign bench players. So we're going to have to accelerate their process. So maybe you could start giving them spot minutes. You understand what I'm saying? So if you're talking about that type of element, like, I'm all for it. But if you're just talking about just coming, like, I think you need to do this, I think you need to do, no. I'm the basketball mind here. If you have questions and you want me to explain it to you, what I'm doing, I think that's fair. You know, and you can agree or disagree, like it, that's fair. So these coaches that's been in the NBA, like even Jenkins, and he still got fired. They came to him, you know, oh, we think the offense needs to be whatever, different than whatever he was doing. So they fired his 5 of his assistant coaches, and they hired 2 assistant coaches because they felt the offense needed to be a certain way. And then he said fine, and still wind up getting fired. You understand what I'm saying? Listen, if you're gonna go down your way. Go down your way. Anyway, all right. Anything else on the coaches? All right. I want a quick question on the NBA Finals before we get into the Knicks roster and the changes they may or may not make. Indiana took OKC to Game 7, and you know, maybe if Halliburton doesn't go down, maybe they win it. They were projected. OKC was projected to win in 5, right? Rick Carlisle is just in his bag, just really showing how good of a coach, a tactician that he is. And obviously, the players have to perform. You could be a great tech. If the players aren't performing and executing, it means nothing. Does how Indiana played in this finals change your opinion on the Knicks Pacers series, whatever your feelings were after that series?
Can I go?
Sure.
No. I still think we're the better team, and I still think we should have beat them had we played smart, high IQ basketball. It was tough to not only the way we lost game 1, it was very, very hard to overcome that loss. And then game 2, we come out flat. So, your starting point is 0-2 on the road. It's kind of like the probability of coming back from that is, I'm sure, as history would tell you, there's not too many teams who've done that. Okay. So yeah, we had a couple games 1 and 2 were like horrible games for us, and we were never able to recover. Hadn't those games happened that way, we would have. I have no problem. I'm pretty confident we would have beat them.
Geoff?
Well, I really, after game 2, I just made the switch to just saying I'm just respecting the Pacers. I respect their roster. I respect their process. I think that they're an intelligently designed roster that functions really well together. And they were kind of at their peak and their maximum. They had a lot of things bend their way up until Halliburton getting hurt. So if you want to say that balanced the scales, I don't know. But, I'm impressed by OKC that they did the same thing we did and threw away game one, and we're still able to manage to come back and recover and win the series. But having watched OKC, I don't think that if the Knicks beat the Pacers, I don't think we were beating the Thunder. I think that the Pacers are a much better matchup for OKC than we were. And I think that if game one goes our way and we get to the finals, I'm not sure that we're beating OKC anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah. I actually don't think. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say, but speaking of matchup, the Pacers were, and Queen, this is not something I've said during the playoffs. I've said that all year, actually. Like, the Pacers were a terrible matchup for us. Like, even though we beat them the season series 2-1, I feel like the way they play and the way we play, it's really like opposites. And then they had the upper hand because so we like to control the pace. They do control the pace. Okay, we like to try, but they actually do every time. And we're terrible 3-point defending team. If you leave them open, they will kill you from three. And then I mentioned this so many times on this podcast. The Pacers, when they find something that works, they keep going to it until you stop it. Not until they fail, until you actually put a stop to it. Something we don't do. Like, we would find, like, somebody would have a hot hand and then we go away from them. Pacers don't do that. They keep going to that hot hand until you figure out a scheme to stop that. Not until that hot hand missed 1 or 2 shots, they're going to keep going to them. No. You have to stop them. You have to actually do something on the court to prevent that hot hand from going, and then they'll switch to something else. They'll find something else that works. That's how they play the entire time.
Yeah, for sure. I actually think, in hindsight, Indiana was the better team. I mean, boneheaded play. So if you're a team that make boneheaded plays, you're not a good team. If you're a team that can't rebound from game one because it took too much out of you emotionally, you're not a team to win the series. If you're a team that the number one thing they like to do is points off, is fast break points, and every game they're killing you in fast break points, you're not a good team. So you could say that the Knicks have better talent, top heavy. They have better talent, but they're not a better team than Indiana. Their defense is not as good as Indiana. And Indiana does what they do much better than the Knicks do what they do. And Ajay pointed it out in terms of differences in style. They imposed their style on the Knicks, and the Knicks were not able to impose their style on Indiana. Now, this team they've been together, right? This is not their first time together. So I think that had something to do with it. Carlisle's coaching had something to do with it. But even with coaching, the players have to perform and execute. You can have a great plan, but if the players aren't executing, you're not winning. Tyrese Halliburton, I read this on X, formerly known as Twitter, hit 4 game-winning shots on their way to the finals. That's what you need. Like, you need timely stops. You need timely shots. You need a little bit of injury luck. You understand what I'm saying? Like, you need all of it. And the Knicks had none of it. And the criticism of Tom Thibodeau was fair, but you're not going to get me to believe the only reason the Knicks didn't beat the Pacers was because of Tom Thibodeau. Like, you're just not going to get me to believe that was 100% of the reason. He takes his fair share. Don't get me wrong. But I keep going back to game 6. The way Brunson looked in game 6, like, he had the whole team on his back trying to make something happen. And people were like, putting the blame on Brunson. It could have been the lineups too. It could have been the schemes. It could also be other players not hitting shots. So if you're not hitting shots, they don't have to respect you. They can now crowd Brunson. And now he's looking like he's just dribbling and he doesn't know what he's doing. But there is nothing. And they did that to Shea a couple of games as well, where their defense was to the point where they just took away all passing angles. And he was
He
out
was
there
8
looking
for 24 in game 7 from the field. So you're absolutely right.
right.
But here's my question to you, Queen.
Mm-hmm.
You said something that was really sharp, and I want to kind of piggyback on it if you don't mind.
No, absolutely.
You said that the Pacers played their style and enforced their will. And I don't even think the Knicks knew what their style was to enforce it. Like, I don't know that this year's team had a specific identity where it says the Knicks do this and that this be a certain XYZ. I thought last season's team, with iHeart and them, they had a specific identity, but it seemed like this year's team was trying to be everything at once, and in trying to be everything at once, they ended up being nothing. Right? They wanted to be this offensive explosive team. They wanted to play defense. They wanted to, and with the roster that they have, none of those things were really compatible. So it kind of became a jumbled mess. Would you agree with that?
Oh, I would agree. And so then you can make the argument, if you ran the team back with Thibodeau, maybe it would have, been better. Or you could have made the argument that there were certain things with Tom Thibodeau that just wasn't going to change, right? So again, I think just watching Indiana, man, the way they got after it defensively, the defenders they had, how they made it tough for Shea. Shea, I mean, he's the MVP. And there were certain games he looked mad regular. And that had a lot to do with with Indiana's defense and with the schemes and carrying out the schemes. I think people always focus the coach with the scheme, but the players have to execute it as well. And they were fabulous in doing that. And you just got to get timely shots. You have to get timely shots. Remember, was it game 2 of Detroit when Brunson and Towns hit big shots to win that game? Like, you need that on your way to the finals. Just dig out a game. That wasn't the Knicks. So in my opinion, the Knicks may have a better starting 5 if you want to argue that. Yep. But that talent is no way gelled the way that Indiana
and Queen, that's actually what I meant when I said the Knicks had a better team. Like the starting 5 was
the
better.
Talent, yeah.
On the talent level.
Yeah.
But there's another thing too. Like, after they fired Tibbs, right? One of the things that started, like, people mentioned a little bit, that kind of vanished in the news world. Some players said they didn't know their roles. That, I don't know if you heard that, but that's huge when players don't know their role. See, with the Pacers, those guys know exactly what they're there for. Like, and I don't want to say their role, but their primary role, right? Like, they have primary and secondary stuff that they do. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you have Nembhard, is it Nembhard?
Yeah.
So his job is to defend, right? Like, that's his job. But he could shoot the 3. If you give him that little daylight, he'll do it. But his primary role, like, he's not actually out there trying to get a shot. He's out there defending, right? But of course, when the team's on offense, he's not defending. He's setting picks and do whatever. But once he get a crack at the basket, he goes for it. So those guys know their primary job. Okay, we have a couple of guys on our teams who do that, but not. It's not. They don't stress it enough, Like Josh Hart, he rebounds a lot. He knows that's what he does. He's really focused on that. That's good. And OG Anunoby, he knows he defends. He plays the passing lane. He does that. That's good. But then, like a lot of guys don't know what to do. Karl Anthony Towns is one guy who a lot of times seems confused, not just about his role. And not that he's a role player, but even as a superstar, you have your role on set plays. There's certain things you do, right? If they're running this play, your job is to do this. A lot of times he looks like he doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, it's hard for me to believe that a starting lineup that played the most minutes together than any other starting lineup in the entire NBA doesn't know their role. They may not have liked their role, they may not have accepted their role, but it's hard for me to believe that they didn't know their role. And Karl Anthony Towns looking lost, I'm not putting that on anybody but Karl Anthony Towns, because there's some games he looks like he's on point defensively. Other games feel like he doesn't know what the hell is going. And I mean, there was an article on that. I don't know how true it was. I think they didn't like their roles. I think Bridges didn't like being a point of attack defender. I think OG wanted more touches and wanted to be more involved in the offense. It's just hard for me to believe they didn't know. I think it was they didn't like it. That's just my take on it.
That's a problem.
But listen, everybody can't. That's on any team where you have players who don't buy into their role. Like that happens. Somebody who's the third option feel like, listen, I'm the best player on the team. Why are you not running plays for me? You're running plays for Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. I'm just as good as they are. You know what I mean? I've had, players who felt that. I actually played with someone in college. I was the second option. She was the third. You couldn't tell her that she didn't think she was the first option. And during the game, she would make all the right plays. But in the locker room or whatever, she didn't talk. She felt like we were getting more attention than she was, and that she was better. So and she's allowed to feel that way. And I'm just pointing out that there are times on a team when a player just doesn't buy into their role. Some don't like it and still do it, and some don't like it and they don't play it to the best of their ability because they don't like it. Yeah. Anyway, anything else on, again, the coaching search? Anything else on the Indiana and how we felt about the Knicks?
Well, Queen,
I'm hearing a lot of optimism. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we didn't say nothing about the finals themselves, but real quick, congratulations to Isaiah Hartenstein.
Congrats.
I remember a lot of people got all bent out of shape when he went to the team that was offering him more money and a better opportunity to win a championship, and fans couldn't understand. And the Knicks couldn't have matched the offer either. So some fans just couldn't get it through their head that he had to do the right thing. Anything other than that would have been actually quite stupid for him to do. To stay here for less money. Like, he's not getting any younger. He had to make the money. Like, he had to go to a team offering him more money, offering him a better opportunity at winning a championship. So congrats to him.
Yeah. Could definitely congrats to him.
And the Thunder.
Yeah. I mean, if we think about the players who left the Knicks from last year's team that we would have wanted on this year team, I could guess Ajay would say DiVincenzo. Yeah. I would say iHeart. Well, I would have wanted iHeart on this team.
iHeart's because we couldn't keep him. Like
No. I mean, in a fantasy world. Fantasy world, if I had to pick between him, Randall, Devo, whoever else was on that team that's no longer here this year, Devo would have been a close second though. But I would have picked iHeart. Yeah. All right, let's get into our bench. So. Well, let me just ask this preliminary question. So I want to talk about the bench, and we'll do player evaluations and roster construction at the same time when we talk about the bench. So it's a two-part question. Did that player meet or exceed your expectation? And would you want that player back next year? Two-part question. But before we even get to that, just an overall question. Do you think the Knicks should stand pat and just make some minor changes, or do you feel like the Knicks need to make a significant change? And what is that significant change for you? Is that a power forward? Is that another ball handler? Is that a scoring player off the bench? Stand pat or make a significant change, Geoff?
Well, the more I thought about this question, and I've been thinking about it since I saw what your topic was going to be, I'm not sure that we're going to be able to significantly improve the roster. We can change the roster, we can change the makeup of it, and we can maybe we can improve on the margins, but I don't know that we don't have a lot of draft capital or equity in the future, which is something you could spend to improve the here and now, right? We don't have that. So if we're making a trade, we're going to be, something's going out for what's going in. So maybe you get a small upgrade, an upgrade on the margins. Maybe you help the salary cap situation so you can boost the bench or something like that. But I just don't see an avenue, given our salary cap situation and and the players we have under contract and the lack of draft capital that we have, to significantly improve the roster. I think we can change the roster. I think there are 2, 3, 4 guys who you could definitely move and bring in different guys. But and does that make us look different? Yes, but I think we don't have to be significantly improved to win the championship either. We were 6 games short. We choked in game 1 against Indiana. So you hold on to that game, which we're the only team before OKC did it in game 1 of their series that ever did that before. So, so you hold on to that game and you're 5 games away. So you don't need this massive incremental boost in the roster and the productivity to get across the finish line. But we do need to improve on the margins quite a bit. I think with our bench, we need to improve on the margins. I think as in terms of how we utilize our players and the rotation and how the minutes go, I think that we need to change the roster. But when you think about it, 3 of the top 5 teams in the East are losing a significant player to injury for the entire season, with Halliburton, with Dame, and with Tatum. And so most of the time when you're talking about the arms race, for lack of a better, everybody is getting better, right? Well, in this case, 3 of the teams won't be getting better because they don't have a practical way to replace the production that they've lost. And so you will have teams that are on our heels. Orlando's already done it with their trade. The Pistons will probably improve, and maybe some other, Toronto, whoever you want to say, Orlando, whatever teams behind us, they might improve incrementally. But for the most part, even just by standing pat, theoretically, we should rise above the people who are in the same bracket as us. And you have to think that the head coach, well, the plan is that the head coach helps boost that productivity of the roster as well.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to step out, so I missed a good portion of it. Ajay?
So I think I kind of partially agree with Geoff, but I'll point out where I kind of disagree a little bit. So no, we do have it's kind of stand pat, but improve along the margins, right?
Okay.
I disagree that we don't, and at first glance, we don't have any assets to make any significant trades, right? But that's not true. The problem is we don't want to give up the assets that we have. Okay, so the front office has to analyze and figure out which asset they can part ways with that would, and what they can bring in to improve the team. Okay, so we have the assets. We just don't want to get rid of them, right? We're not trying to get rid of OG Anunoby. I'm sure there's a market out there for him. We're not going to do that. I would hate. He's one of my favorite players on the team, so I would hate for something like that to happen. But we don't want to do that. We have guys. I don't think. I mean, when the Knicks first got eliminated, one of the things that I read an article that Precious Achiuwa wasn't coming back, so that's some money that we can use towards something. But there are other guys like Mikal Bridges. We don't want to trade Mikal Bridges because we gave up so much to acquire him, right? We have the assets. There's a market out there for him.
But let me ask you this, Ajay, though. It's still 1-to-1. So unless you're trading Mikal Bridges for a package, Are you better sending out Mikal Bridges, which is one player, and bringing in another one player?
No, Queen. I don't know how it would work out. It could be Mikal Bridges for one or two play, or for one player and and some draft picks to get some draft capital back. I don't know. I'm just saying there are ways. We as fans, because we're emotionally attached to those guys, we don't want to see those guys go. We don't want to see Mitch go, right? But I'm sure some team somewhere would want to, hey, I'll give you this and a couple of draft picks for Mitchell Robinson, or I'll give you this and this for Josh Hart. We don't want to do that. We can improve. Are we willing to do that? And I think the front office is gonna make the hard decision. So I feel like there's one or two players that we really, really love on this team that are not gonna be here come training camp. I don't know which ones.
Yeah.
Disagree with that, Ajay, but I don't think that significantly improves the roster.
Right.
It may significantly change the roster. It may make us a little bit better a roster, but I don't think it's going to be a significant roster improvement.
We don't
from what you're saying.
Geoff,
I think it's kind of like shuffling deck chairs.
No, we don't know. We don't know who if they make a trade, we don't know who they get rid of, who they bringing in. I'm just saying it's possible.
Who's out there though that unless you're bringing in? I guess maybe if you're arguing a chemistry thing, like the chemistry, might be better, and so.
I mean, I don't have any particular name. I'm just saying there are a ton of free agents out there that would help us, right? I don't know if they would. I don't know what the front office is thinking. I'm saying they can improve this team, and you never know with chemistry, with their style of play. The improvement could be significant depending on who they bring in.
But
right?
Keep in mind, the Knicks won 50 some odd games, third seed, 2 games from the NBA Finals. Significantly improved would be NBA Finals and particularly winning it, right?
That's what That's what we think.
Well,
that's what we feel.
Significantly improved. What significantly improved for you? What would that look like?
Queen, I agree with you. Significantly improve is a championship, but maybe I'm saying we don't know. Maybe Leon Rose's significant improvement is 60 win season and make it to the finals. Okay, that's his track. But us, we want a championship. Maybe they have a little. They'd be like, you know what? We're gonna change this team this season, and then it's gonna take us a couple of years to actually win the chip. We don't know what they're thinking. That's what I'm saying. Okay. And the threshold or the what they put up, like we don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? And
we don't know, but the question is, what would you do? Like, we don't know what the front office would do. Queen, the question is, would you? Are you looking for significant changes or running it back with just some changes around the edges?
I would run it back. I would find a way to beef up the bench. And find playable guys on the bench so we don't have to play 7 guys in first, second, and third, first, second round of the playoffs and the Eastern Conference Finals. I would find a way to get guys on the bench that we can play, that can produce, that way we can go further as a team, as opposed to as soon as the postseason gets here and then this thing get trimmed down to like 7 guys and the 8th guy only playing like 4 or 5 minutes, type of stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And I have no problem with changing. The only change I would make to this team is I would have Josh Hart come off the bench. That's it. That's really. But the thing is, I don't know who would start. I don't know if Mitch would start or if we bring like a power forward. I don't know, but I would rather see Josh Hart come off the bench.
Yeah,
that's the only.
I do think that he would perform better in that role. I think we asked a lot of him. And he did his best. Statistically, he had a career year. I'm not going to get on Josh Hart too much for being put in a role that's probably not his probably not his role, because the roster was constructed in such a way that we didn't really have good rebounders on the team. Or I guess you can argue you could have started Precious, and got some rebounding. I mean, in terms of the free agents, Harden, player option. Kyrie, player. Like, the Knicks are not getting any of these players. Josh Giddey, restricted free agent. These are just the point guards. Van Vliet, D'Angelo Russell, Russell Westbrook, Chris Paul. I would like Chris Paul, but Spencer Dinwiddie, Ben Simmons. But these are free agents, though, right? So if you trade, it doesn't necessarily have to just be for a free agent. Listen, I don't know how the Knicks do it, but I would like to see another ball handler. Doesn't necessarily have to start, but somebody that could play behind Brunson and also with him, with some size, and that player can actually run the team. So Brunson could truly be off ball, right? That's what I would like to do. I think the Knicks also need a center, and this could be Mitch. I think the only question with Mitch is health. If you're telling me that the injuries for Mitchell Robinson is behind him, then Mitch is fine, because I feel like we need somebody that could play behind Towns and with Towns. Same thing with Brunson, behind Brunson and with Brunson. And so that's a center to me. That's another playmaker. Again, could be somebody that comes off the bench. But that player, in my opinion, because one of the things we have to think about is you want to bring in all these players, but who are you taking out? Right? It's going to impact somebody's time. So and maybe Deuce McBride can be this, because I thought his ball handling got better. I don't know necessarily about his playmaking, but I thought his ball handling got better. That person that I'm talking about is a 25-minute a game person that's playing behind Brunson and next to Brunson, so Brunson can have some significant time off ball. That's a 25-minute a game player. What does that do to Deuce McBride? You understand what I'm saying? So we want to bring in all of these players. We still have to. How does that impact the players that are already here? If Mitch can be that, play next to Towns, behind Towns, that's great. A healthy Mitchell Robinson for the full season, that gives us rotational versatility, and I really like that. And I also think we need another rebounding person in that starting lineup that can shoot the ball. Whether that's a 4 and we move Obi to 3, whether they're a 3 and Obi stays at 4, we need somebody who can shoot the 3 and rebound. It can't just be on Karl Anthony Towns. Bridges is not a good rebounder. OG is not a good you got to have another rebounder in that lineup. And if they can't shoot, they're going to be similar to Josh Hart, right? So, Geoff, that's a lot. I need that. I need that playmaker. I need that healthy center, and it could be Mitch. And I need that that starter that can rebound. And while we're at it, can I get a scorer coming off the bench? Can I get not a shooter, but a scorer coming off the bench? That's a lot. Yeah, that's my wish list. I'm not sure that gets
you can get 1 or 2 of those things. You won't get all 4. But
yeah.
I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect roster. I'm sure if you asked the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just won the championship, they would. I don't know what those things are, but I'm sure they would tell you things that they don't like about this player or that player, or they wish they had this player instead of that player. You know, there's no such thing as a perfect roster. But you know, I think you properly identified some of the elements that can help us and some of the elements that were really lacking, particularly in the second unit last year. So I think that I think that you make a lot of good points. I think for Deuce, it's a matter of him making shots again. His effective field goal percentage dropped from 0.571 to 0.511 last year. Yeah. That's for the entire season. Right. That is a dramatic turn for the worse. And he was particularly bad inside the arc, right? Right. His finishing skills inside the arc were not good at all. And his three-point shooting was significantly, I think it was 36.9, which is right about his career average. But 2 seasons ago, he shot 41%. And that 41% is excellent. 36.9% is okay. And there's a big difference. There's a big gap between excellent and okay. So, I think part of maybe the bench getting better might be just guys improving stuff that they've shown to be able to do in the past. Like if I'm not even saying if we get all the way back, but if you just let's say he shoots 38% from 3 next year and 54% effective field goal percentage, just throwing some numbers out there, I think that elevates him and that makes him more capable of playing those 25 minutes that you were talking about, as opposed to 15 to 17, because you can't really trust him because he's not scoring on the consistent basis like you need him to.
But I wonder if Deuce can be a playmaker. Can he run the offense so Brunson is truly off ball and just don't have to worry about it for that possession. But since we're on Miles McBride, didn't meet or exceed your expectations, and would you bring him back next year or be open to including him in a trade? Because with his salary, you're not upgrading the team with just his salary.
He performed below my expectations for him this year, but I would certainly bring him back because, as you said, he's making $4 million a year. He's an undersized wing is what he is. I think I think we can hope that he becomes a playmaker. I just don't see that in his game at all. I've never seen him as a point guard. I mean, I've always considered him an undersized wing. But look, Deuce is in a lot of lineups that are very positive. Like Deuce and Brunson actually pair very well together. And in fact, Deuce is the point of attack defender that does well, which slides Bridges to the 3 and OG to the 4, which gives us a lot of positional versatility, and it helps us in terms of minimizing the risk as far as Cat and Brunson are concerned with their lack of defensive ability, let's just say. So he's a piece that you can plug in to our lineup, and he has a positive effect in limited minutes, right? And so I think for what he's making, I think that's valuable. By all means, you want to bring him back next year, and you just kind of hope that shooting recovers a little bit next year, and don't kind of expect him to be what he's not. That's my thing. Like, right. I think if we expect him to become the backup point guard, I think we're going to be disappointed. If we expect him to be a hard-nosed point of attack defender who knocks down corner threes and is a good catch and shoot player, then I think that's a role that he can fill well, and we can feel good about what he'll do for us.
Yeah. Ajay, Deuce, Matt exceeded your expectation, and would you keep him? Do you want to bring him back?
Yes, he did, and yes, I would want to bring him back. I think from the time Deuce has been here, we've seen him literally improved every season. Like he's literally been on an upward trajectory. The first couple of years, we didn't see him play a whole lot. We just, we watched what he's been doing in the G League. And like it couldn't translate into the NBA, but the last couple of seasons we've seen that he's been better, playing with the best players in the world, and he's improved. So when you combine what he brings to the team, and his contract, the money he's paying, like it's absolutely, he's definitely a keeper.
Yeah, so. Yeah, I agree. I think he exceeded my expectations in the sense that his ball handling got better. Like, I hear you, Geoff. You're right. His shooting was inconsistent. And we really counted on him. And that's why I think we need a scorer off the bench more so than a shooter, because we counted on him to be our primary scorer off the bench. And he's somebody who plays better being set up, as opposed to getting his own shot. So if he's not shooting well, you're just not going to get the scoring. Or if guys aren't locating him, you're just not going to get the scoring from him. But I thought his ability to bring the ball up against pressure improved like tremendously. And I would bring him back as well. I do think he's a value contract, but he would not be my first player off the bench. He wouldn't be my sixth guy. That would be either a scorer, or that would be my dream 6'5" point guard playmaker who would play behind Brunson and also next to him for 25 minutes a game. That would be the guy. Because I think less wear and tear on Brunson, I think it's going to open up a whole other part of his game if he's able to play off ball, because we have somebody that can actually run action.
So you're looking for a Jordan Clarkson or an Alec Burks archetype, or not those players specifically, but I'm saying an archetype of a player, a guy who can come in and those are just the first two names of guys who come off the bench and get buckets like those.
So I'm looking for two.
Or Colin Sexton.
I think they would. I don't know if I can get both of those players in this. I don't know if the scoring player off the bench would be the same as that playmaker, and if it is, that would be great. So yeah, somebody in Clarkson mode as a scorer off the bench. Doesn't have to be Clarkson himself, but in terms of that playmaker, it would be Brogdon in his prime. When he was a good defender and he had size and he can also run the team, and Brunson can really trust that he could play off ball. So yeah, I don't know if we can get both of those players in one. Because he was a good scorer, right, for Boston that year. I don't think he's that player though. Since then, yeah. All right. So we would keep McBride. I would move him to a different role. He would probably play less minutes if we get that guy that I'm talking about. But I think we agreed that he didn't meet Geoff's expectations, met Ajay's, exceeded mine. I wasn't expecting the ball handling to improve as much as it had. Let's move on to Mitchell Robinson. Just in the time that he played, or maybe you even want to include the time that he didn't play. Did he meet or exceed your expectations, or not meet them at all? And is he somebody you would look to bring back next year? He's in the final year of his contract. The Knicks can extend him if I'm not mistaken.
Who's that, Queen?
Mitchell Robinson. I think he's making $13.9 million next season. Yeah. So we started with you, Geoff, the last time. So we'll start with Ajay. Just your thoughts on Mitchell Robinson this season, if you would bring him back, and do you see? And in what role, if you want to go there as well.
Yeah. Mitch is always a sticky situation with him. Because the time that he played, I didn't have any problem with him. He met expectations because at this point we know what Mitch does and what he doesn't do. So we know maybe the bar is lower for him, which is probably not fair or not right, but he's been here his entire career, so we know what to expect of him. So I feel like the little time that he played, he delivered on what he had to. We know he can't shoot free throws. We know he doesn't have a post. We know the things he do and don't do. He could put it back. He could grab you the O&D rebounds. He could cover a lot of grounds defensively. So I felt like in the time that he played, he met those expectations. So now, would I keep him? It depends on what's out there. Because you said he's making 13 and change.
I think 13.9.
Okay, so roughly $14 million.
14 million.
It depends on what's out there or which direction the team's trying to go, right? So there could be scenarios where you need Mitch. So it's basically if they need Mitch's salary to improve the team, whatever that may be. I don't know what Leon Rose and his crew's thinking.
But what would you? We none of us know. What would you do?
I would keep him. I would keep him.
Okay. And you would start him, or you would play him behind Cat?
I like him, not necessarily behind Cat. I like him coming off the bench. Sometimes it would be behind Cat. Sometimes it would be with Cat. I would prefer we get another power forward, like a typical power forward.
Okay. All right. Shout out to Paris Doug. Appreciate the super duper chat. Appreciate you rocking with us. Watching this finals, I love where we are. SGA pounds the ball as much as Brunson. JB actually was as unstoppable as SGA because of his power, a strategic coach, and just further vet and youth development, and add a scorer, and we're good. Listen, OKC almost lost that series, and there was a lot of complaints about SGA pounding, pounding the ball.
I don't know. I don't know how they're recorded, because I actually watched some of those games. He does pound the ball. He does not pass the ball sometimes when you're like, dude, what are you doing? This is like 3 people are guarding you. The 2 guys are open. Find those 2 guys, and he doesn't. He forces the issue a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. One more super chat, and then Geoff. Paris Doug, appreciate you. Guys are better second year after a trade to a new team. Let's hope. Mikal Bridges and the Cat actually had a really good season. Hopefully it gets even better. Yeah, Geoff?
This is a heart and a head conversation for me, because I Mitch is the longest tenured Knick, my favorite player on the roster. So I love Mitchell Robinson. Like, I really, he, in the darkest days, he was like the one player that actually had some light to him before RJ was here, before any of that. He was like the one player who said, you looked at and said, well, maybe this kid has something. So from a heart aspect, I would love to have him back. I think there are when Mitch is optimized, he brings a lot to this team, and he helps us be the best version of ourselves. The problem is we don't see that version of Robinson on a consistent enough basis, whether it be because of health, or sometimes he just disappears. Like, you guys know it. We've all seen it. There are just times when it's like, did Mitch even play tonight? What happened? And then there are times when he's the absolute best player on the court. I think you can make the argument that we don't win either of the first 2 rounds of the playoffs without his contributions. So, but the other thing is, I know this front office, and when you've got guys who are extension eligible, if you're not planning to extend them, and with his injury history and unreliability, I can't see them wanting to, invest long-term money, even if it's not crazy money, in a player that they're not sure how much they're going to get out of them. I really feel like it's if you're going to improve the roster on the margins, you can probably find someone who does a lot of what Mitch does for less money, and use the balance of that money to fix some of the other issues, or get some of the other things that you've been asking about on the bench, Queen. You know what I mean? Like a guy who can score a little bit more, or, another wing, a power forward, maybe. Who knows? The list is extensive about what that can do. And you have to wonder if you're not planning on starting Robinson anyway, you have to wonder if Hukporti and this kid Najee, who they got from Minnesota, who's coming over from Europe, maybe the plan is to bring those 2. And now I don't have a lot of confidence in those, because Hukporti's coming off an injury, and I've never seen this other guy play. But maybe that's part of the calculus. I mean, it's less and less of a centers league. But again, Towns gets in a lot of foul trouble, so you're going to have some. And I like Towns at the 5, but there are some people who prefer him at the 4. So, so from my vantage point, my heart would love to keep him, but my head says they're gonna have to move him. And I've been pretty consistent about thinking they were going to trade him, dating back to last year. So I think we have to stay consistent with that philosophy, and I think that's a reason why Bridges may not be a certainty here either, because again, do they want to extend Bridges and go into the over the second apron to keep him? Or do they want to, now it's a little different with him because we have invested all those draft picks in him. So maybe that, convinces the front office they want to hold on to him a little longer. But they're not tied to Robinson in that way. Robinson was here before them. So, and everybody else is gone. So I would certainly have my suitcase packed if I was Mitch. You're muted, Queen.
Mitch played very well in the playoffs. I still don't think he's 100% in terms of being able to play at the level we saw him play in some of those games at a consistent level. I'm just not sure his stamina is there yet, and I would expect that next season it would be. If you could promise me that Mitch is going to be healthy and that we can get him for about what he's making now, I would say bring him back. I like him playing. I like him coming off the bench, as Ajay said, either behind Towns or with Towns, that rotational versatility. But Sherwin said he's going to make $30 million on the free agent market. I'm not paying Mitchell Robinson.
Nobody's paying Mitchell Robinson there. Maybe the Lakers, but
yeah, I'm not paying Mitchell Robinson much more than what he's making now.
And if you're talking 2-year, $30 million, 15 in a season, yeah, I could see that kind of a deal. But $30 million in one season, if that's what he's commanding, you definitely let him walk.
I mean, it could. Just like with Isaiah Hartenstein, they felt like he was the missing piece. So if there's somebody out there who feels like he's the missing piece and they have the money and use it or lose it, he might. I think he showed that when healthy, he can be dominant, defensively. But listen, I don't think anybody on this panel was surprised at what Mitchell Robinson did in the playoffs. I think for us, it was just about health. Right? In terms of what he did defensively, I don't think anybody on this panel was surprised, with what he did. That's Mitch when healthy. Free throws still an issue. Ball skills still an issue. Though I thought he did much better than I remember him moving the ball in the offense. So, yeah, I think if you can guarantee me that he's going to stay healthy and we're getting him for like $15 million, I wouldn't mind bringing him back. But to your point, Geoff, if you believe in Hogporty, if there's a cheaper option out there, are you paying Mitchell Robinson $15 million a year if you feel Hogporty is ready? Or do you bring in like a third center for, I don't know, 3, 4, if the taxpayer mid-level exception, and still bring Hogporty along, but because you don't think he's there just yet. These are all the decisions that with the collective bargaining agreement, this is what you got to think about. This is how you have to think. And I think I would do that. I think I would bring in a center on a minimum or taxpayer mid-level exception. Would you guys bring in Horford? Would you guys bring in Cornette? I don't know if you can even get Cornette now for the taxpayers mid-level.
Cornette's going to command Mitchell Robinson like salary. I think you're right.
Yeah.
As far as that's
D. Grant said, heck, Porty is not ready for the center position. Yeah, I mean, because that's a big position, particularly given the fact that Towns gets into foul trouble. So you have a developing center and a major role on the team. I think you got to insulate yourself if you are going to move on from Mitch by bringing in another center. Sherwin says Ariel Hukporty will never be ready. D. Grant says Horford is too old. Yeah. Yep.
How old is it Hartford?
I'm not sure. Can you check that, AJ? Relying on mostly young players to fill a bench is risky. It is risky if you're going to be a championship contending team. And we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that next. Anthony D says Boogie Cousins. I heard your earlier comment. I started Anthony D. Appreciate you rocking with us. I don't know about Boogie Cousins. He hasn't played in the league, and I can't tell you how long. Let me ask you guys: do you agree that backup center position to Karl Anthony Towns is like super important?
I agree.
Especially when you consider we're probably not going to have Achua on the roster next year because we're not going to go over the salary. I mean, we're not going to go over the second apron to sign him. We could, but we're not going to. And he doesn't want to be here anyway. I don't think with the few minutes that he got last year. I'm sure he's going to want to go somewhere, get paid, and do more. So, you're going to probably need two big men with at least 4 or 5, 4 or 5 combo guy. Probably ideal for the positional versatility, like you said, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. So if you can't find somebody that can do what, I'm not sure you're going to find anybody that's out there that can do what Mitch does at that level, but I'm willing to take a little less on the defensive end if they can contribute offensively. But if you can't find that, I think you have to re-sign Mitch. That's how important I feel that backup center is to the Knicks' chances of winning a championship. I would not fit. Now, listen, I wouldn't feel comfortable if the Knicks went into the season with Hukporty as the backup to Towns. That doesn't mean, because I don't feel comfortable, doesn't mean he doesn't come in and knock it out the park, right? He might come in and knock it out the park, but it's just not something I would feel comfortable with. Anything else on Mitchell Robinson?
Horford is just turned 39, by the way. Yeah, I know.
I would love for him to be on the team, but how much minutes can he play? Like 12 minutes a game, 10 minutes a game?
If we have him on the team, we got to get rid of PJ. He would play the role of PJ Tucker.
Right, but that doesn't help. That doesn't help the center spot.
No, it doesn't. But he can. I think he could. You could throw him in there for 10, 12 minutes though. He can still,
Mitchell he makes 12.9. Okay.
What about a guy like Andre Drummond?
He's a good rebounder, but defensively, something to be desired. But
I'm just thinking of guys who'd probably come in pretty cheap. And and Drummond is kind of, I don't know. I'm still probably back in 2018 because he's always been like a double double guy to me, but he's also kind of an Enes Kanter type from what I'm hearing from you.
Let me name now. These are free agent centers. Again, if the Knicks are trading, they're not limited to free agent centers, right? Miles Turner, Naz Reid has a player option. That would have to be a trade. There's no way.
I think we have the assets to acquire Naz Reid anyway. The Minnesota's not going to be that
to Ajay's point, unless we're getting rid of OG or Bridges. You're right. Brooke Lopez, Clint Capella, Maurice Wagner. I think was it a knee or Achilles injury? from Orlando, the center.
He did have a serious injury. I don't know what it was though.
Yeah, Al Horford, Luke Knick, Kevon Looney, Mason Plumlee, Drummond, Jackson Hayes, Paul Reed, Thomas Bryant, Day'Ron Sharpe, Jericho Sims, Marvin Bagley, Luca Garza, Isaiah Jackson, Christian Koloko, Mo Bamba, James Wiseman, also had an injury. Do any of those inspire you?
They go
I
that
don't know
name.
if it's
They go
fire.
that Mo Bamba name again. I know. I'm watching the chat. I know somebody's gonna say, "Get Mo Bamba."
Why do you say get rid of OG and not Cat? I wouldn't get rid of OG or Cat. But I'm saying if the Knicks are gonna make a trade, I just think it'll be too. Yeah, he's your
Capella is
second.
an interesting player. I think he'd be too expensive, but I think Capella would be a decent backup 5. Somebody you could rely on.
Yeah,
he's healthy.
A-Train, not even Dollar Tree. That's like at the flea market.
Or re-sign Mitch. Okay, I hear you, Sherwin. Listen, I agree. I agree that defensively, Cat, something to be desired on that end of the floor. But
if we just dump Cat,
but I'm not. I mean, he had a career year. And he came up big for us in the playoffs. It's some frustrating games, some, definitely to me the eye tests and the stats, particularly the advanced stats, don't mesh, right? Because there was just some games I was just pulling my hair out with Cat.
I'm keeping Cat.
Yeah.
Unless we get like a monster, like a Giannis or something like that. So like a talent you just can't say no to. Otherwise, I'm keeping Cat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Keep turning. How are we going to re-sign Mitchell Robinson? You going to trade Bridges?
Well, they own the rights to Robinson, so they can go over the second apron to sign him. It's not a situation like and they're not limited in what they can pay him like they were in the Isaiah Hartenstein situation. That was a very unique situation based on the type of contract he was signed to. But the Knicks could extend Robinson tomorrow, and it would put them. You're right; it would put them over the second apron to do so in all likelihood. But they can keep financially. They can keep Robinson if they want to.
What's your bet that they would go over the second apron to
Not
keep
a chance.
Not a chance.
I don't think they want to go over the second apron until they absolutely have to. And I don't feel like they feel like Robinson's contributions are consistent and impactful enough that I'm not even sure they want to go over the second apron to reach sign Bridges. But I think they would in that case. But I don't think that. Now, if they're over the second apron already, like if the extension for Bridges is going to put them in that territory already, then maybe they just say, well, we're already in for a pound, we'll go in for a pound. But you don't want to do that because multiple years over the second apron it gets your, that draft pick punted to the end of the first round. So you really have to be very careful if you're talking about operating as an over the second apron team. And I think the Knicks are going to prevent that as long as they possibly can.
D. Grant said he's not sold on Cat, but you have to keep him. X Productions, everyone last year was yelling, get Mikal Bridges. Now you don't even want to give him another year under a different coach. Yeah, we fickle. Listen, come on, X Production. You know how it is. How it is. Everybody was in love with Brunson 2 years ago. And what did I say? I said, okay, once the Knicks become contenders and Brunson, year after year, we're not getting that chip. They're going to turn on Brunson. This was our first time. The first time this team was together, already complaints about Brunson. Trade him, get rid of him. We can't win with this guy.
Wait, I want to post this real quick.
Sure.
Shout out to Sherwin. Says, Cat gives up what he scores. What do you guys think of that statement? It's another one
I
of
think
those.
I know his plus minus. It's not a perfect stat, but in the playoffs it was positive. I don't know about the
He was the only positive player against Indiana, I think.
Yeah.
So
I think he was the only consistently positive player throughout the season. But I mean, when you say Cat gives up what he scores, so does Brunson. Do you want to get rid of him too, Sherman? Or probably even Mikal Bridges, because Mikal Bridges doesn't score a lot. His job is to defend. So it's probably a wash. Like the Knicks as a team, the point differential was like a little bit over 4. So most guys on the team give up what they score. With some
I think that's disingenuous to look at it like that because basketball is not a zero-sum game like that. In other words, how many good shots does Towns create for other people on the floor just by his gravity, just by his ability to shoot those three-pointers up at the top of the key? How does he unlock our players offensively on possessions in ways that if somebody else was there that they wouldn't be? And we saw that last year when we had the tandem of Hartenstein and Mitch, both good fives, but they didn't open up the offense the way that Towns did. And so I don't think you can just simply look at it as, well, the guy he was guarding scored 30 and he scored 30. So, what good is he? I 100%
just my personal
opinion. I know some people will look at it like that.
Yeah, but it's not a fair way to look at. That's exactly my point. That's why I posted it. It's just like actually, certain guys have different things that they do. And you can't really go by what they score or the guy who they mostly guard score. That's not a metric to anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
don't worry about PJ Tucker. He's a non-guaranteed for next year. He's going to be off the team. So if you don't like PJ Tucker, you don't have to worry about him much longer.
How much is he getting paid though? PJ is like
it's a 3 point something.
3 something.
Yeah, I get it. Daniel Gafford agreed to a 3-year, $60 million. I think it was 3-year, $54 million. I think there's some incentives in there, but I don't think he's set. Well, he's not setting the market for the Knicks when it comes to Mitchell Robinson. I don't think they give him 20.
So is Gafford their starting 5 and they're playing Davis at the 4?
I guess so.
Is that I don't know anything about the Mavs.
He's one of them, and then they also have Lively still.
Oh yeah, they have Lively.
Yeah, they also have Lively as well.
You think they factor the fact that Davis is hurt all the time, so they kind of
right. We ain't moving nobody. Matter of fact, we're gonna pick up another center.
Yeah,
I think the health of Kyrie is much more important to that team than they can survive without. Dave is a great player, but I think they need Kyrie at full strength if they want to do anything close to what they plan on doing.
Right. All right. In terms of the others on the bench, just would you bring these guys back? I'm just gonna name all of them, and you could just comment on all of them or just a few. Campaign, Precious Achua, Landry Shamet, DeLon Wright, Marjon Beauchamp. Are you bringing any of those? Would you like to bring any of those guys back next year?
I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind having Landry Shamet on the bench. Well, we know Precious is not staying, but I think like I wouldn't mind having him, but because I think we've seen him not this past season, like the season where we're hurt, we see that he has more to give when he had more playing time. So he didn't have a good season this season, but like he could probably be a little bit more productive if put in the right situation. So if we can't pick up somebody else, I wouldn't mind bringing him back, but I would like to improve at where he is if we can.
Yeah. So just the narrative on Shamet. Shamet got plenty of opportunity in the regular season. his minutes went down because whenever he got in, he was not making shots. He got opportunity, but he wasn't making shots, so his minutes dwindled. And then toward the end of the season, he started hitting shots when he got his few minutes, and then his role improved. Increased.
Do you think the recovery from his surgery had something to do with that, though? Do you think he was finally healthy come playoff time, or you think he was just missing shots when he first got back? Genuine question.
I think his shoulder probably has something to do with it. I don't think he was right. I think it took him some time because historically he's been in the league 6-7 years prior to coming to the Knicks, and I think he's at a little above average 3-point shooter if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I do think it was the injury. The thing about bringing these guys back is then there's no room for new blood, so you bring what's the difference between Shamet and Deuce? Right? I mean, they're both shooting guards. I mean, you can argue, Deuce might be a better point of attack defender. Shamet might be a little better off the dribble, but
he has a little more size too. Shamet
has a little more size, but they're both two guards. So we got Mitchell Robinson. We're gonna bring back McBride. Shamet. And we haven't even gotten to the rookies and who we would like to see in the rotation. Like, this rotation is not going to be 12 players. Geoff, who would you bring back?
Shamet probably of that group is the one that I want back the most. I think if you asked me that after game 1 of the first round of the playoffs, I probably would have said Cam Payne. But he fell off the map so badly after that in the postseason that I was really just, I guess, soured on him, because I think the playoff performance is what matters. And what we saw is that Shamet was more consistent in giving us quality postseason minutes probably than anybody else on that bench. So of all the players that you mentioned, I don't think any of those guys is an impact player outside of Shamet. So he'd be the guy that I'd bring back. If you don't feel like Kolek is ready, you're going to need a campaign-like
even
player.
If
it doesn't
ready,
have to
Geoff, you still need. I think you still need a third point guard. No. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, I think that's absolutely right. I'm just saying, if you feel like campaign is legitimately ready for rotation minutes, you do need a third point guard, but you could probably just bring back a guy like DeLon Wright, who you're not feeling like is going to get a lot of time. Whereas campaign, I feel like was brought in to play, 15, 20 minutes, consistently.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you made me pick, one of them, I would pick Shamet first and DeLon Wright second. Just in terms of just having some size. Coming off the bench, he's not a good shooter. 10 years in the league, he is what he is. At this point, I don't think he allows Brunson to play. Well, he would just play behind Brunson. I don't know. Maybe the new coach would play him with Brunson. Maybe. I just don't see a big role for him. Right. Bootchamp is a restricted free agent.
He just sounds like a salary filler kind of a guy to me. Like they brought in, what was that guy who we brought in that Detroit trade? The guard who I don't think he played a minute for us, but he was the salary we needed to complete the Bridges trade. I think it's kind of one of those deals with Beauchamp more than anything that they like that he does on the court. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I like his size. I like his defense. I like his switchability. I don't think he's a good shooter. If they can somehow turn him into a shooter, he would be great.
If he turned into a shooter, he wouldn't be making the vet minimum like he was. If you turned DeLon Wright into a shooter, you gotta.
You're talking about DeLon Wright. I thought you were talking about Beauchamp.
Oh, okay. Well, either one. I'm just saying, he turns into a shooter, then you got shooting as a premium in this league. If he turns into a shooter, that changes the equation.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else on those guys? Payne. I don't think Payne will be back. I don't think Precious will be back. Beauchamp, maybe. Right. I don't think he'll be back. Shamet, maybe.
I gotta share. I think this is funny. Cam shouldn't be allowed on the block of where the Garden of Madison Square Garden.
Anthony D. Always bringing it. Always bringing that smoke. I love it. Thanks, Anthony D.
Yeah. All right. The rookies. Kolek, Hukporti, McCullough, who's also a restricted free agent, actually. Daddier. Should the Knicks look to lean into their rookies next year to fill out the roster? And if so, is there one or two that you would like to see in the rotation who you feel is ready to be in the rotation? And would you see them as the top of the bench rotation? Like, what's your expectation of them if they are in the rotation?
I think we'll probably end up holding on to all four of them. I wouldn't expect us to get a lot out of any of them. You'll get some spot minutes. I don't think any of the four are going to be rotation players next year. I'll be really surprised if they are. But, in this day and age with the CBA the way it is, you fill out the end of your bench with those kinds of players. And don't be surprised if we make a trade for another second-round pick so we can bring in two guys with the rookie exception so that we can sign a player to more money as our ninth guy. Like, I could see a situation where we have the four rookies that we have plus two other guys who are that we draft this year who aren't any good, maybe have potential guys similar to what we got, so that we can get one more bona fide, reliable, at any of the positions you talked about, but a reliable eighth or ninth guy who's a legitimate rotation guy that's more seasoned and more dependable.
Yeah. Ajay?
Queen, I would like to see us lean more into the rookies or the young kids, but I don't know if at this point where this team is, we can afford to do that. I would like to see Pacome Daddier get some good minutes. Even a Kolek or McCullough. I don't know, McCullough's still going to be around, but I would like to see them get some minutes, or Hukporti. I think Ariel Hukporti's it will be he's not going to have a problem getting minutes. I think he's going to get some minutes. But I mean, we need forwards. Pacome Daddier, I guess he's a small forward because he's only like two. He looks like a small frame, but I think he's 6'8" or 6'7", something like that. So he's got good size, but not built. So he's probably a small forward. I mean, I'd like to see them get minutes, but I don't know if where this team is at. But maybe in the beginning of the season, you throw them out there, see how they play to decide who you keep in the rotation, who you push more to develop. But it's still gonna be a dilemma come playoff time. Like, do you want to put those kids out there? When it gets real hot, so. But I would like to see them, not just in summer league. I want to see them play against the regular season guys.
Yeah. I mean, I get the dilemma. I definitely get that. You got to develop those guys. You need those. You need your draft picks to hit. And I'm not one that believes development is all on the court, but at some point, you do have to, give them minutes. But at the same time, you're trying to win a championship, and if you're trying to win a championship, you want to go with players, not that veteran players or players who've been in the league can't have bad games, and not that rookies and second year players can't blow up and perform really, really well for you. But if you're playing the percentages, you're not going into a season with 4 rookies coming off your bench if you have serious championship aspirations. Like you're just not doing that. So I think I could see Huck Porty, getting, being that third center, but really getting minutes. See, it's one thing affects the other, right? You got a new coach, he's putting in a new system. He want to see his guys, play together, get those reps. If Mitch is here and he's your backup center, where are you finding minutes for Huck Porty unless someone gets into foul trouble?
Until Mitch gets hurt again, and then Huck Porty's
or he gets hurt. No, that's fair. Or he gets, or he gets hurt. Do you put, we need a shooter? Are you putting Daddy A in the starting lineup and bringing Hart off the bench? That's not something I'm doing. You know what I mean? Even though I think Hart would be amazing in that role again, right? So even Kolek, is Kolek playing the campaign minutes behind Jalen Brunson? Do you trust him to run the team consistently in that role over the course of the season? I think if I had to pick 2, I would feel comfortable with Huck Porty and Kolek, but there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be growing pains, and you need to have a third point guard. Yeah, because if he shrivels up in the playoffs, you got to have somebody that you can bring in. Anything else on the rookies?
I'll say this one more thing about the rookies is if 1 or 2 of them does develop into a real rotation player, that changes the upward trajectory of this team significantly. Like if you get one of those guys who turns into a bona fide rotation piece, I'm not talking an all-star, I'm just talking about like a Deuce McBride level player. I think that significantly impacts how far this team can go, and I think it would go a long way to pushing them over the top if they can. If one of those guys can step up and fill that void that's in there, because I do think there's opportunity. I think there's minutes to be had if they can carve out and earn them. I think they'll have a chance to do that. I haven't seen anything yet from any of that group that says they're definitely going to do that. Not that they can't do that, but nothing that says yes, they're definitely going to do that.
Yeah, and I think the role they're in matters too. Like if Kolek is starting, if he's the backup to Brunson, that's a major role. If Huck Porty is the backup to Mitch, that's a major role. If he's your third center getting spot minutes and foul trouble and whatever, that's different. Right? But if he's your backup, you better be confident.
Queen, can you I know you flashed this, but we didn't say anything about it. What do you guys think? I think that's a good question.
That is a good question. I think they would probably regret the Bridges trade first if he doesn't turn it around.
Yeah, I think that's right. I don't think they regret it now.
Right.
I think that they might regret it later, but I think as of right now, I think they have, I think they're okay right now. I mean, they did get to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, and they have confidence enough in the team that they were willing to get rid of the head coach. So I think from a front office perspective, I think they still are fully confident in what Bridges and OG can do, and they're under the impression that they weren't maximized under the previous head coach. That's my take on it.
Right.
I think they regret the Bridges
Already?
Yeah.
Oh.
Not because he's not good, because they emptied the coffers for him. And like it like literally kills the team's flexibility. So but then again, I don't know how the negotiations went. Maybe that was not that maybe, but I guess that was the only way to get him from Brooklyn. But you know, it's just like they gave up a lot for him. And not because he's not good or he can't get better, because it leaves no room for very limited room for moves at this point, I think.
Yeah. His backup, he said, I think it's OG. A 14-2 January clouded their vision and flexibility. And the rumors that Philly was set to sign him, right? I think gave him some gave him leverage. Cat said, put Cat with those. I regret the Cat trade more. Yeah. I see possibility with Cat. But then when you think about the fact that he's been in the league 10 years and we're still talking about optimizing him, Minnesota had issues optimizing him, as well, right? So maybe he's a hard guy to optimize. I don't know. We'll see. I saw when I look at his skill set, I'm with you, Anthony D. You put a defensive 4 next to him that can shoot shots, hit threes and rebound, and we have that spacing again. Knicks offense is beautiful. Beautiful. But there's something about Cat that I can't put my finger on right now. I have to think about it a little more. One thing about the playoffs is you're going to be found out. And he was statistically, he was great in the playoffs. He came up big for us multiple games. I thought we should have went to him more. There's something I can't put my finger on. I'm going to have to think about it a little more.
I mean, shout out to Rick James. I'm guessing OG Anunoby. Do we still consider him a 3-and-D guy, or just a 3-and-D? I think he showed a little more this past season.
3+?
3. I mean, a scorer, like a good defensive player, who, when given the opportunity to score, he'll score. He scores in various ways, not just 3-pointers.
Jamrock. Oh, y'all not helping my cold here. He said, one thing I found out about Cat is he needs to lose some damn weight. He doesn't look overweight. Does he look overweight?
Not to me, but I don't know.
Man, he doesn't look overweight to me.
I like Cat, so I'm not.
It's just the clumsiness, Queen. It looks the goofiness, the clumsiness of him. Like when you watch him, you're like, oh, something's not right with him. Like he's gonna get hurt, he's gonna fall, he's gonna like something. I don't know if losing weight is the solution, but
yeah. All right. I mean, that's all I have. We went over the bench, we went over the rookies, we went over the coaches, update on the coaching. We went under whether or not we have different feelings about Indiana. I mean, that series against Indiana, just seeing how well they played against OKC. Anything else?
Big day on Wednesday. The draft should bring some interesting, even if it's just pick 50, it should bring something new to the table for us to talk about, and the league is gonna look a little different, and the wheels are gonna start to be in motion, and the off season begins in earnest.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident with the Knicks with the 50th pick, right?
Yeah, definitely gonna get
We
the
had the 17th
Hall of
pick. I
Famer
was a
with
little
that one.
concerned, but with the 50th pick, I'm feeling pretty good. And then also, there's trades on that night as well. I don't really see the Knicks being in the trade market unless it's Mitch. I don't really see them. It'll be Thursday. Anthony D, you're welcome to come up anytime.
For sure.
I'll text you the link, or if you have an email, if you text me your email, if you prefer the email, if you text me the email, I'll email you the link, and that's a forever link. So anytime you want to pop on, you use that same link to pop on. But we'll be back on Thursday at 9 p.m.
With a new player in tow, hopefully.
Yeah. Do you see the Knicks being active during the draft?
They usually have been.
If they are, they're gonna trade a player we don't want to get rid of. I'm telling you, some fans' feelings are gonna get hurt this offseason.
Here's the thing: I want a championship. I don't care what 15 guys it takes to like whoever the 15 guys are that gets us that Larry O'Brien trophy and the parade in the Canyon of Heroes. Sign me up for that. I don't care who it is.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
Like, I'm not getting my feelings about a player. I love Mitchell Robinson, but we need to trade him and get a championship. Bye, bro. Love you, man. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. Any last words?
Oh, I did want to mention. So I have a series that I'm in the middle of right now on my blog. It's talking about Patrick Ewing and how he relates to other greats in Knick franchise history. I think I've done parts 1 through 4. Love for you to check it out. It's not finished yet.
I thought I just read 1 yesterday.
Jeff don't play.
Yeah, every day I crank them out, Queen. We don't waste a lot of time.
Jeff does not play.
And then tomorrow's article isn't going to be based on that. It's just a little bit of fun that's different about the Knicks 50th pick. But I do plan on getting back to that. It's still to come. I still have to do Clyde, and I still have to do Willis. So both of those should be really interesting comparisons. And so just a thought of who really is the greatest Knick of all time. Interesting conversation sparked by Twitter. It was what gave me the idea. So I figured I would just look at it and see what I thought.
Yeah. Well, we'll have some fun in the off season because you're right. Just some basketball stuff. There was a tweet about Tracy McGrady saying that he was just as good as Kobe Bryant. He just didn't have the players. Beside him. So yeah, you're right. I'm gonna pick out some general basketball stuff so we can have some fun in the off season talking about these things. Trey.
Hey, where were you, bro?
Just getting on here late, but in my opinion, I think the Knicks hire coach tomorrow before the draft. How y'all feel about this? I'm good. I would like to know who it is and then do a deep dive on them. And then to Ajay's point, they've evolved. None of that stuff is relevant, right? Until they get here. But yeah, I would like to know who the Knicks are going forward with.
It would be nice if they are. I'm much more concerned, Trey, about finding the right candidate and identifying the right guy. If that means we have him tomorrow or if that means we have him July 20th, that part doesn't really matter to me. Like, it's the off season anyway. I think that we're not gonna, like, we're not in a hurry. It's not like we're competing against other teams. So there's not really, I don't think there's a lot of impetus to to change anything because they're not here yet. They're not invested yet. So if you are going to make a change to the roster, they're just going to have to be in lockstep with what that is. And I don't think that's really that big of a deal. So to me, the timing of it is not like, as a Knick fan, I want to know, right? I'd like to have the news because it'd make for a great,
Content.
great material to talk about. But
Right.
I don't think we need to get in a hurry. Find the right guy. As Queen said, that's the most important hire of Leon's life. He's got to get it right. So take your time, do your due diligence, interview everybody you need to, and pick the right one.
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
Oh, Queen, we didn't say nothing about the KD trade to Houston.
Oh yeah. We'll talk about that next. I wanted to say something about the So, I mean, do you think that's an indication that they're not going to make any major changes? Because you would think if you're going to make major changes, you would want the input of a coach than to just bring in make major changes and then bring in a coach and be like, okay, I need you to make this work.
Could be
It's possible. I don't know. They are very good at remaining mysterious, this Knick front office. They don't tell us anything, and I'm okay with that. But I have no insight as to to me, I would prefer to have the entire coach, front office, everything in place before any other kind of player acquisition is done. But that doesn't mean that's the only way that it can be done.
Yeah. Go ahead, Ajay. You had a question about the KD.
I don't know. What do you guys feel about it? Like, I know we had some discussions here where people wanted KD, wouldn't mind KD, would rather have KD. So,
I think it's a good move, but I don't think it puts Houston over the top. I think it's a good trade for both teams. I think that the Rockets significantly weaken their backcourt, and I'm not sure that they have enough backcourt talent as presently constituted to make a really deep push in the playoffs. Of course, they went out first round this year, so I mean, maybe it's still a building thing, but I don't think KD is the guy to carry a team across the finish line anymore. He's a great player; he's going to put up stats, but I don't think he makes the players around him better in any significant way. That's just my take on Durant. And he's 37. He's going to be looking for a 2-year extension that's not cheap. I'm just glad the Knicks are not in the Kevin Durant business. So good luck in Houston.
Now you're talking. We dodged that bullet, man. He's 37 going on 60.
Well. The only reason I didn't want Kevin Durant is because it shortens our window.
Yes.
But I ain't taking anything away from him as a player. He's better than Bridges right now. He's better than Bridges. KD is still playing at a high level. It's just that, and Houston is going to find this out, they went from maybe a 5-year window to a 2-year window. Right? So that was my only my only issue with KD, but he's still a really good player, particularly on this team where you wouldn't be looking for him to carry you. If you kept Brunson and Cat, you're not looking for KD to carry you. It's just that now you probably got like 2 years,
I don't think you'd have 2 years, Queen. I think you'd have to win next year with KD, because then you have, like Geoff said, you have to extend him to another couple of years when he's gonna be 40, whatever. That's tough, man.
You would have to extend him, but I wouldn't extend him for more than 2 years.
Well, even 2 years is risky.
All they gave up was Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. That Rockets team is stacked and will be a problem out west. Like, if we didn't have to give up anything, like hardly anything, for I don't know. I'm okay with it because I feel like you're bringing in a new coach. We're gonna need some time. Like, I'm not sure it's gonna be a 1-year thing for us.
So Fred VanVleet and Reed Shepherd is a backcourt that's gonna take you to a championship. I'm asking that. I haven't watched him enough to know, and I know Cam Whitmore is there and maybe a couple of, but I just think they're razor thin in the backcourt. They still have an excellent front court, and Sengun is really good. I just don't see how that's the recipe to beat the Thunder or any of the other teams that are really powerful out west that have these dynamic backcourts that could kill you.
Don't you think they would need to defend those backcourts? They can get their scoring from other places, but they would definitely need to be able to defend those players. Listen, we got our own issues over here.
Yeah.
We got our own issues over here trying to.
Look, I probably just gave the Rockets a ticket to the Western Conference Finals. You know how I am about these things. I said something that it's probably the best thing that Rockets fans have heard since Hakeem Olajuwon was there.
Yeah. Anything else?
Maybe Devin Booker shakes loose and we figure out a way to bring him over here.
Well, I don't know about Devin Booker because I don't know if they would want Bridges back. So you would have to who are you trading to bring Booker? But if they buy out Bradley Beal, would you bring him in?
I wouldn't.
For how much though?
If they buy him out, you wouldn't have to pay that much.
If vet minimum, I would bring him in. I'd bring him in before I bring Westbrook in.
Westbrook is such a brick shooter, man. But I love that guy, man.
The energy's insane. But my God, he's just completely lost his touch.
Well, I don't think he was ever a good shooter.
He was a pretty not good shooter, but good scorer.
That's the guy Phoenix wants to keep. Like, I think that's the piece that they're wanting to build around. They might trade Jalen Green. They might trade some of these other guys. I'm sure they may move on from Bradley Beal, but I think Booker is the one there. That's the cornerstone of that franchise. That's the building block. I don't think he's going anywhere, especially in a team that doesn't have its own draft capital moving forward.
Yeah, and reports are they looking to reroute Jalen Green.
Is that someone we should be interested in? Is Jalen Green any good?
I don't like him, but on Twitter, people were talking about the Knicks looking into Jalen Green as a young, inconsistent player. I just feel like we're on a different trajectory right now. Who you giving up for him? Bridges? OG?
I don't know.
Is he?
I don't know much about him.
Contract? I don't think so. Is Jalen Green on a rookie contract? But nah, I'm good with Jalen Green. The next 3 years,
double our Taylor power.
Yeah, the next 3 years he's owed $105 million, and it includes a $36 million player option for 2027-2028.
Looks like a shooting guard that can't shoot.
Right. Yeah.
But he's just 23, 20-point per game scorer.
All right. Well, we need somebody around 26. I feel like we need somebody a bit more seasoned. In my opinion, anyway.
Yeah, I don't think he's much different than Mikal Bridges, actually. And I'm not sure that he's better than Bridges.
Yeah. Old Jet said he's 23 and full of potential. If y'all don't know he's good, listen. I think the Knicks are past the potential at this point. I think if you're trying to win a championship, you need proven players. Proven players, in my opinion. All right. Anything else? Somebody said Nah, he scored single digits in that series against the Warriors, except for one game. He went off for 37. That's where he is. He's inconsistent. Listen, what is this? His third year? Fourth year? It's to be expected, right? You're going to be inconsistent in the early part of your career. I think the question is the Knicks willing to take on that inconsistency?
If he really pops for Phoenix, that may turn out to be a really bad trade by the Rockets.
Anthony D said he wouldn't be the focal point. No, he wouldn't. You're right. That's fair.
But does he get enough shots? Because he's not a high efficiency scorer. About 35% from three, 42% overall leads me to believe if he's scoring 20 a game, he's getting a lot of shots. Let me look.
Keith Turner. We talking about Jalen Green or whatever. He wants to remind us that Mitchell Robinson's trade value is kind of high right now. Okay. All right. Any last words?
Thursday.
Great show as always. Thank you to the chat. Queen, you're the greatest hostess of the business. We love having you host this for us and give us an opportunity to talk about this team. A lot more fun stuff to come. We having a show on Thursday or?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's on Thursday.
And we would have picked Wednesday, right?
Yeah, the
First
draft
round Wednesday. No, they're not.
The draft's on Wednesday and Thursday. It's a 2-day affair, I think, this year.
Oh, is it? They're splitting it up. I didn't know.
Yeah. So it'll be. We might be
the
on
second
air
round is on Thursday. So Wednesday we're not doing anything, but Thursday it'll be our time to shine.
Right. We might be on air when the Knicks pick. Right.
Probably will be.
All right. Would you take Ben Simmons? He's still a very good point guard to facilitate, play defense. May not.
I wouldn't be upset.
He can't shoot.
I would not be upset.
He can't shoot. We're gonna run into the same issues. The same issues. Of not being able to stretch the floor.
I think he's Josh Hart light at this point because I don't think he's as good a rebounder as Josh. He's a little bit better playmaker, but you don't have to guard Ben Simmons at all.
Yeah. I think I would. I don't think we can get him, but I would like Lonzo Ball. And I think his three-point shooting has really improved. But I don't think the Knicks can get him. Yeah. Anthony said he would bring him in. Nah. Over Lonzo Ball? Is Lonzo Ball a free agent or restricted? I think they signed him to a contract, to an extension. I think they signed him to an extension this past year, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, in February, a 2-year extension. So, yeah. I think 2 years, $20 million, I want to say. Yeah. Yeah, nah, I'm not. Yeah. All right. Ajay, any last words?
No, looking forward to Thursday, man. Like you said, we might be on the air when the Knicks make their 50th pick.
Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate the chat. A-Trade, David G, Ralph, Unreal, D Grant, Sherwin in the building, Anthony D in the building. Hopefully you could join us, Anthony, Monday or Thursday. Keith Turner, Ally Wise. Paris Duggar was in the building. Sherwin was in the building. I think Wiz was in the building earlier. Keith Turner, Rick James, Jamrock. Appreciate you. I'm not going to get to everybody. A-Train, JJ was in the building early. Building Blocks on Dios NYK. Yeah. Andrew K. Been a minute. Appreciate you. Eddie Kofi. Appreciate you. Kareem Grant. APAP. Bang USA Sports. Born Freedom. David Smith in the building. Appreciate you. President of the Cat Fan Club. Shoquan. I hope I got that right. Tori B was in the building also. Appreciate that. Mets, Knicks fans, let's go. Anyway, if I missed you, I appreciate you. Until next time, family.
You tune in, that means you're feeling the vibe. The bell rung, you already been subscribed. Right now, the queen, she on live. Please pull over the whip, no phoning when you drive. Dope Soul sporting with the talk. First lady from New York, New York. All my people, you rocking with the chat. Hit that. The like button would tell me where you at. You know, step from the MBK. Born and raised up MBK. Hey, real lady where she holding it down. No matter way how you feel, she gon' greet you with a smile.
Sister, you one of a kind.
Yes.
Oh, sister, it's time you
That's
shine. Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you at?
Dope Soul.
Where you at? Where you